not giving up has been the best advice I ever got. And you just have to remember, don't give up. But a lot of the people I would work with when I started working in Hollywood, I would tell them my background is working with mental health and working with, at-risk youth. And they would just assume, oh, is that because you were a gang member? Without, and just stuff like that, and just that ignorance. My mom would come home and then she would say, okay, time to go take a bath or, clean up and eat. And then I said, okay, I'm going to leave these toys the way they are. And then when I come back tomorrow, I'm going to pick up the story where it's at. And I would create these little scripts in my head. And I think that's how I developed my writing style.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a un episodio más de Platicando con Jacque. El día de hoy platiqué con John Mercado, quien es un escritor y productor de Hollywood y cofundador de la compañía Four Ways Entertainment. Platicamos un poco sobre cómo nació su motivación por la escritura, sus inicios en la industria del entretenimiento, sus procesos creativos y la motivación de él y de sus socios de abrir su compañía de producción. Este es nuestro primer episodio en Spanglish y espero que lo disfruten. Las redes de John las pueden encontrar aquí en la descripción del episodio. Bye, que disfruten el episodio. John, thank you so much for being here. I just want to say, as we were talking before to getting here, like, you are my first guest. You are my first interview in person.
Awesome. Thank you for having me here.
Oh my God, I'm so happy. And I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna let myself go.
You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. I want to start. I read an article like you were a mental health worker.
Yes.
For 8 years.
Correct.
How was that? How did you make that career change?
So, when I was young, in high school, I grew up in Baldwin Park, California, and in the 90s. And anybody who's aware of what life was like in the 90s, there was a lot of gangs. So, bad influences led me down some wrong paths. And I decided I wanted to change my life. And meeting social workers in that process kind of gave me that inspiration to say, hey, I like what these people do. I like how they help the community. So I got into mental health. I spent 8 years helping many different communities, help themselves. But I saw how media was a more impactful message. I saw how the kids I worked with would really rely on like TV shows and movies and say, oh my God, that really makes me feel a certain way. Music. So I said, okay, if I really want to make a difference, I know entertainment's going to get my message out there more. So that's how I decided to make the transition to a writer.
Wow. And before we start recording, you told me a beautiful story. Can you share with us when you were 4 years old and your mom, well, as a single mother, she has to go to work and you have to stay by yourself in your house? And can you share with us that story?
Sure. I just do want to clarify because I know my dad will get mad. She
sorry.
wasn't a single mother, but they both worked. I'm first generation, so my parents, hard workers, and they wanted to, provide everything they could to me and my older brother. My older brother's 10 years older than me, so when I was 4 years old, he was out in the streets being a teenager. My mom would say, hey, I got to go to work, mijo. So here's some toys. Here's some food. Don't open the door to nobody. And if something happens, just call 911 and God bless. And, there was no cell phones back then, no pages. So it was just like, okay, I'll see you when you get home. And she would leave me alone. So what I would do is, because I was scared, 4 years old, and somebody knocked on the door, I would run into a room. So I would lock myself in a room and play with my toys and create these worlds because that was, the way I kept myself entertained. There wasn't a lot of kids in my neighborhood, so I didn't have a lot of friends. And so it's not that I couldn't make friends, it's just there was no kids. So I would just create these worlds, and then my mom would come home and then she would say, okay, time to go take a bath or, clean up and eat. And then I said, okay, I'm going to leave these toys the way they are. And then when I come back tomorrow, I'm going to pick up the story where it's at. And I would create these little scripts in my head. And I think that's how I developed my writing style, that from little kid like that. And one thing I do want to add, Um, I also want to thank my grandmother that lived in Cuauhtémoc, Mexico,
Mhm.
because every summer my mom would ship me over there because I was a little bad kid. Go with your grandma. So I would spend the summers there, and it was so awesome because she would give me my pan dulce,
Aw.
my tacita de atole, and then she would just tell me stories. And she had a stove de leño, so she would make like fresh tortillas, and I would just sit there and watch her and just get fat and eat and just absorb all these stories. And I think because of her, I think that's my storytelling ability comes from.
Wow. I love grandmas. My grandma was
Mm,
like that. They always
right?
have big stories, and don't you think like the best coffee and cookies and sweetbread is with your grandma?
Of course. They're the sweetest. I think because they're so sweet. And, unfortunately, she did pass away when I was 17. But a little story, and it's a little creepy story, I
Go
mean
for
to
it.
tell it. Um, I went to go get my palm read when I was 19 years old. And anybody who I told the story, they always creep out. So I walked into the house because my friend's dad was a palm reader. And as soon as I walk in, he looks at me, he looks behind me, and he says, "I can't read your palm. You need to leave."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then my friend, she comes out and she says, "I'm really, really sorry." Um, he says there was a woman behind you standing,
Mhm.
and she was really upset that he was going to read your palm. And he wanted me to tell you, don't get scared, but this woman follows you around and protects you. And she's dressed in all black, and she's pretty tall. She's actually like almost as tall as you. And I was like, that's my grandma. Because she would always wear this black dress because back then, in Mexico, she was traditional. She lost her husband. So since that day, she would always wear a black dress. So that's how I know she's always with me. So she's probably in here with us.
Oh, hi, Aurora. Hi, John.
Yeah, I know.
But that's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
But also, I'm wondering what makes you go and who told you go and get a palm reader?
We were just hanging out, and everybody was getting their palm read. So they were telling them all cool stuff, what's going to happen to them. And I was like, well, I want to find out what's going to happen to me. So as soon as I walked in, I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Because she was like, oh, he told me to go wash your hands. Because, I guess you need to wash your hands before your palm read. And I walked in, and then he just looked at me and he said, sorry, no, not you. And he walked away out of the room. And then I had to leave, and that's when she came out and she said, yeah, I'm really sorry. He's never done that. But there's a woman standing behind you, and she was really upset.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. But what were your feelings in that moment? Did you get scared, or did you were like, "Oh"?
No, I actually felt more confident and more what's the word I want to use? Just more protected. I felt more like, okay, you know what? If I know that my grandma's always going to be with me, I don't need to know what my palm is going to tell me. I don't need to have it read because I know the future is going to be good.
Wow, beautiful story. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing with us. Did you get the management? Are you still working on that?
With Sandra?
Yeah.
Yes. So Sandra and I right now we're still discussing how we're going to move forward. I love so far what we've done. Um, I think there's just a few details to work out. I hope that we can continue to work. But yeah, right now we're just kind of at a standstill because I think we're just trying to figure out how we can move myself forward.
Mhm.
I'm a little different in terms of I write the stories I write do reflect my community, but I also don't want to get pigeonholed as only one type of storyteller. So I do have like fantasy stories, period pieces. I also have scripts in Spanish. So I do want to let, you know, Hollywood know that hey, you know, you don't need to just put me in one type of lane. I can do other lanes because I feel like a lot of the kids I've spoken with, they're very, very talented. And they also feel like they don't want to get labeled or pigeonholed, Like I want one day to go to a theater and it be like a Latino wrote Star Wars and not
Yes.
be like, oh my God, it's gonna be they're gonna or certain people are gonna judge it a certain way. No, they're just gonna accept it. Because we tell great stories and it's just very frustrating sometimes how we're stereotyped as writers, and so it's just something we have to overcome right now.
Have you had that experience? I mean, obviously, if you're mentioning it's because you already had it, but can you share with us?
It's really funny. I mean, I think I've had the experience in just not in writing, but just throughout my whole life. It's funny that you bring that up because the other day I was talking to somebody and they were back in the days when I used to work for Dr. Phil. A lot of people don't know that I was his manager. I was for 8 years. Helped the man do what he needed to do. But a lot of the people I would work with when I started working in Hollywood, I would tell them my background is working with mental health and working with at-risk youth, and they would just assume, oh, is that because you were a gang member? Without and just stuff like that, and just that ignorance, unfortunately. So it's just been something I think I've just grown up dealing with. Right now, currently, I think certain people in the industry are surprised that what I write and the fact that I can write so well, and they look at me like, "Oh, you wrote this?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Why is that a problem?" But so I think it's just something that I've been dealing with for a long time, and I wanna make sure that future generations don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you're mentioning because I understand that. I know, I mean, I have a different background. I didn't grow up here, but also as I didn't know you were Mexican, or I didn't know you were Latina, or, oh, you think like that, or, those kind of things, like, we should stop doing those comments. I don't walk, oh, you did this, oh, it's because of your white. No, this.
It is very ignorant, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's I think that's one of the things that hopefully generation by generation will slowly uh, scrape away that ignorance to the point where it's not an issue anymore.
Yeah. What about like getting okay, we're talking about management, but before that, how did you cope with rejection? Did you have to send a couple of emails?
One thing I tell everybody, especially the young kids or the young writers that I work with, or that ask me, like, how do you deal with like rejection? And it's like, hey, you have to have a really, really thick skin. I'm not gonna lie. There are days where, like, for instance, 2 weeks ago, I spent almost 36 hours, turning around a script. Um, and it was like 2, 3 hours in those 36 hours of sleep.
Wow.
It's just like bam, 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 bam. I have food on the table, and it's just like I'm a maniac. And to deliver it by a deadline, I was speaking. This is actually a agent I was speaking with, and he said, "Hey, I have an opportunity for a movie. I saw the script, but can you turn it from a pilot for a TV series into a feature?" And so I was like, "Okay." So now I have to recreate this and extend it by 40 minutes, and you want it in 36 hours? Okay.
Mhm.
And so I did it, only to find out that the guy didn't have the funding that was going to fund the movie because he was an foreign investor and couldn't get a license. So that it was 36 hours basically for nothing. But I'm a firm believer in the letter L stands for two things. It's either going to stand for loss or lesson. And I said, okay, lesson learned next time. Put a little bit more boundary when somebody asks for something like that. But also, now I have a beautiful script, and I can shop around, and I also have the series. So you always have to look at those rejections as, what did you learn and what can you take away from it? Because one thing a lot of writers I notice is they are very creative. Um, they have very good aspirations, but you really have to write. You have to go into your desk or wherever it is you do, and you have to put your little fingers on the keyboard and press. I can't stress that enough. A lot of people, I'm a writer, I'm a writer, I'm a writer. And then we get in the writing room, and 4 or 5 hours go by, and I'm cranking out, and I'm like, how many pages have you written? And they're like, 2.
Oh.
And it's like, I get it. It's hard, it's tough, but if you're not the person that's great to type, speak into a tape recorder. You know, voice out your ideas. But what I'm just trying to say is, don't expect to not do the work. You're going to get rejected. You're going to put in a lot of hard work, but trust me on this, it's going to pay off, because I have been on the other side where you think it's not going to happen for me. Why am I doing this? I'm working this job I hate and I'm trying to get something going. Money's tight, but not giving up has been the best advice I ever got. And you just have to remember, don't give up.
I'm done here. The interview is done. Wow. I love it. I love it. But did you always have that mindset, or how did you start thinking like that and see everything as a lesson and not as a, oh my God, like I'm done here. This is happening to me. God, why me? Why me?
Yes. I have to credit my mom. My mom is the type of woman that I got to give it to her. Like, when growing up, like I said, I was in the room. I didn't know, what was going on, but she came to this country and she said, you know what? I'm not gonna wait and hand or foot on anybody. I'm going to make my own way. So she went and got her cosmetology license. I think that's what you call it, right? For hairstyling,
yeah,
correct?
Yeah.
And she opened up her own salon, and a very, very successful salon that she ended up selling and was able to retire on it. And so I just got to give it to her that anytime, she got rejected or something happened, she never sulked. She never sat and said, oh, poor me, look at me. She just said, you know what? F it. Así es la vida. And she'd pick her pants back up and she'd keep pushing. And I think that showed me, like, you know what? You could feel sorry for yourself, and sometimes it's good. You do need to feel sorry for yourself. You do need to lick your wounds and say it's okay, it's gonna be all right. It's part of being a human. If you don't do that, I think it gets not processed in you, and it can come out in other ways, in a negative way. So it is good for you to, like, baby yourself. And people do it in certain ways. Some people do it in bathtubs or with food or whatever.
How do you do it?
Me? I guess the best way you could say is I like to go get a pizza, get high, and just watch really bad TV. Just really cheesy movies. I love cheesy horror movies. So I'll order a big pizza, roll a Fat J, and then just sit back and,
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. But so, that perseverance came from my mother. And I think the way I've always had to create my own path. So, like, a little background. Mm-hmm. When I graduated from Cal State Northridge, I applied to like 2,000 production jobs. Nobody gave me a job, right? I think everybody who is right out of college can relate to that. So I was unemployed. I was about 2 weeks away from getting kicked out of where I was living. And I'm not going to lie, I was starting to think, little thoughts in my head were starting to pop in, because when you're desperate, you start thinking, okay, do I need to go rob a liquor store, or what am I going to go do? Because I need money. And I was not able. It was weird because it was a moment in my life where I couldn't qualify for anything, for like public assistance or anything. It was weird. It was just like I was in this zone. So I said, okay, started watching Oprah Winfrey. Remember when Oprah was on? I wrote down the name of the executive producer for that show. Mm-hmm. And then I called Dr. Phil, the office. And then I said, can I speak to the producer of the show? And they said, sure. They patched me into someone.
Just like that?
Yes, because I told them that the person from the Oprah Winfrey show had referred me there. And I had just moved from Chicago and I needed a job. So it worked. It freaking worked. I couldn't believe it. So the guy goes, wait, who told you? Who referred you? And I was like, so-and-so, so-and-so. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's a big wig. Okay, yeah, come on in for an interview. So I got a job like that. That's how I got the job.
Oh my God.
And then from there, that's how my career in production in the industry grew. So I just know that every time in my life I want to start a new path, it's going to be up to me to create it. And I think a lot of times, you think, people tell you like, oh, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a job, and you're going to be happy. You're going to be a writer, you're going to sell a script, you're going to be happy. It doesn't really work that way. You really do need to create your own path, and you need to be okay with that. Nobody's going to hold your hand, And it is going to be scary, but like I said before, if you believe in yourself and you don't quit, you're going to be fine.
Wow. I love that story, but I have a question. When you were working at the productions, they never ask you?
No, they never did because they're out of state, and it was Oprah Winfrey was a completely different show. And in production, you're just so busy, you don't even have time to check. Like I trip out. I could have told them I went to Harvard. and they wouldn't have known. Like I could have told them I was, the top 1%, they would have known. It's like, okay, so and so, yeah, get in here, go.
That was your connection.
Yeah, it's all about who you know, unfortunately.
Yeah, I see that. I was unemployed too, after college, and actually my friend here told me like, Jacque, well, you are getting out of money. You are in LA where the shows are recorded. Have you tried to go and clap at the shows? And I'm like, well, if I have to do that, I will go. And I found out there's too many people doing that. Yeah, and then you get professional.
Yeah. And I think one thing I do want to add for all the writers out there that are listening and taking in what I'm saying, one thing that I hate to do that is part of being a writer and nobody tells you, and I really, really hate it. And it's not because I don't like talking to people or anything. I am shy. Deep down inside, I know I sound like, oh yeah, you can talk, but I am shy because sometimes I do think like I'm a weirdo. Some things I write about or I say, oh, he's a weirdo. But you're gonna have to network. You're gonna have to get out there. You're gonna have to like really put your name out there. So if you're a shy person, really start working on getting to talk to people. And because here's the thing, somebody told me, John, you write the next Godfather, the next big Oscar-winning script. That's great, but nobody's really, I'm not going to say nobody because it could happen, but it's really rare that you're going to sell that script and then all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh my God, this is so good. We're going to make it and we're going to give you all this money. No, you got to get actors attached. You got to get people to believe in it. And the only way you're going to do that is by networking, contacting people they know that will introduce you to these people. So if you don't network and you don't get out there, that script is just going to sit in your computer and you're going to be frustrated.
I agree. And I'm a shy person. I'm social. Like, that's so weird because I love talking and listening to people. And when you got here, we were talking and we have chemistry and everything. But I've been there, like, at film festivals. I'm like, okay, I don't want to. It's not that I don't like. I'm like, I don't want to disturb these people. Exactly. But a friend told me they are here for that reason. Mm-hmm. They don't want, it's not they don't like to be bothered. You are not bothering them because they know when they go to a film festival, they are gonna talk to people. But how did you cope with that? Like, if you're shy, but when you go to the film festivals,
it's just the way I put it. I took drama when I was in high school because for a moment there I wanted to be an actor, and I think that helped me kind of like, and also because of mental health, I've learned the mind is very powerful. So if you can learn to kind of create this not persona but just like this mode in your brain and call it hustle mode, work mode, network mode, whatever, but if you can create that type of mentality and know when to turn it on and turn it off, it's going to be very helpful because you do feel a little drained, a little like spent when you do these networking events because it's not that you're being fake, it's just that you are trying to let someone know, look, my energy's good, my intentions are good, my stories are good, like let's work together. And I think that's what's hard because you are selling yourself a little bit. And I think that if you can learn how to develop that part of yourself, I think it's so helpful.
Yeah, and also it feels also like a job interview. Like tell me about yourself speech. You already have it right here.
Yes.
So every time you go to a film festival, yes, I do this.
Yes. And you're saying the same thing over and over to everybody because nobody knows you, and that's the first time they're meeting you. So you're absolutely right. It very, very much does feel like a job interview.
And when you were working at Paramount and Fusion TV, you were thinking, I'm sorry. You were thinking like one day I'm going to have my own production company?
Yes. So it's interesting you bring that up. So when I first got into the entertainment industry, growing up, and I think that's why I really want to make sure that the no matter how much I further progress my career, I always still want to give back to my community, because growing up, we didn't have people come into the school and give us like a heads up, like this is how it works in the entertainment industry. This is what could happen. This is,
No.
You just get told, get a degree, go in there, and you'll be happy. And then I got a degree, and I'm working all these hours. Anybody who's worked production knows you don't work an 8-hour job in production. It's at least 12 hours. So half of your day, you're creating someone else's dream, someone else's vision. If you're not somebody who's creative, it probably doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
But when you're creative and like, I could do something just as good, if not better, it starts to eat at you. So I had to personally get away from production. So right now, for the last 2 years, I have not been in production because of that very fact. Being in production doesn't give me time to write, and it's very taxing, like spiritually and emotionally, because you deal with some very, very hard personalities. And so I've just been in cannabis cultivation for the last 2 years, and it's great because I walk into a room full of plants, and I'm stress free, and so I think that's also one thing. If you're gonna do this work by day and write by night, or follow my dream by night scenario, really do try to find something that will complement your dream hustle. Because like, if you have a job that's really stressful, you're not going to have enough energy to put into your dream. Like, somebody told me one time, if you can put 8 hours into someone else's dream per day, you can put 4 hours into your dream afterwards, right? So you have to make sure that you have that that job that complements that. So that's why I just left production, and I said, I'm gonna cannabis cultivation is like solid. Even the pandemic didn't stop it. So that's why I know that will never stop. So, and it's funny because I just want to say one thing. Growing up, my mom would always watch me watching my movies, and she would say, "Ay, mijo, esas películas de seguro las hicieron unos marihuanos." And now growing up, and I'm in this position that's creating content, I saw her the other day and I said, "Mom, you're absolutely right." You're absolutely right. So yeah.
Wow. And how's your creative process? I mean, I kind of have an idea, but what is a day with you? Okay, I have to write, but what do you do before or after?
So my creative process is a little different. I have a office in my house that's only for writing and only for video games. Okay. Those are the only two things that can happen in there. And because I learned a long time ago, this is another thing, a little tip: find something that will help you clear your mind. Steven Spielberg once said that he likes to play video games at least 1 hour a day. So that helps him clear his mind. I adopted that, and it's true. Because it's just mindless things. You're just pressing buttons. You're not worrying about anything. Kind of like, it's almost like when a singer kind of like does throat exercises. So typical day when I'm gonna start is, obviously, I need to have my music. I need to have my weed because that's helps relax, and then just start cranking away. I don't do outline. I do an outline, a very rough beat sheet outline, but I don't do like, there's writers that are super technical that I work with, and I admire that, and that's great, but I'm like, no rules. I write down like, this is how it's going to start, this is what's going to happen next, this is how it's going to happen in the middle, and this is what's going to end, and let's go. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's people that are like, where's your outline? Where's your character arcs? Where's your this, that? And I'm like, right here in my head. Let's go. So it is hard for me to collab with some writers because they are very like, well, I need to have a flesh out of all this and that. And I'm like, no. This is how it's going to go. It's in my brain. I already see it. Let's go. Let's just start writing. So yeah, that's really just my process. I think, like I said, it's just something, like I don't want to say a demon or anything like that, but something possesses me that when the story's there and it says, this is the story, it just comes right out. I can't stop. something takes over me, and before I know it, I'm like, oh my god, I have a script.
I love your creative process because that's true that playing, it was not Nintendo, I'm sorry, I'm a
Video
señora,
games,
so
yeah.
I forgot video games. Thank you. But yeah, you're not looking at their phone, you're not reading the news, you're just disconnecting and boom, vámonos, like another world. I will play like Mario Kart probably, but if that exists.
We gotta get together and play.
Yeah, please. Hey, so I was looking at your IMDb page, and I noticed you are not only a writer, you're also a producer.
Yes.
So how do you, can you share that experience as a producer?
Yeah. So I really do like producing a lot because it's almost like you get to do the creative part without the hard work as far as writing. There's a lot of hard work in being a producer because you do have to like network with people. You do have to like talk to people.
You're the leader of the group.
You have to make shit happen.
You have to make you hug everyone like, oh, everything is fine, but who's gonna hug you?
Exactly. And you do have to be that bad guy sometimes. On set, it's funny because there's this thing when anybody shoots for my company Four Ways. Whenever we're on set, if they say, "Oh, it's bad news," go let Jay know. I'm the deliverer of bad news, and I'm the guy that probably kicks you off set. So yeah. Anytime they see go talk to John, everybody goes, "Oh no, this is not good."
Wow.
Yeah, I'm the Darth Vader of the set.
Can you share an experience with us?
Yeah,
you don't have to say names.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, shoot, there's been so many. Let me see. Okay, so there was this one time we had this. Actually, our first big short film. It was called "Slipping into Darkness," and it was on HBO Max. We had rented Cook Lens. So anybody who knows how expensive Cook lenses are, they're really expensive. I think the whole set is just as much as a Mercedes. So they're very expensive. We hired this camera assistant to transport the lenses, and I happened to walk out to make a phone call, and I see him throwing the cases like he works at American Airlines. And I go over to him and I go, "Bro, open up that case real quick." And he opens up the case, and it's like the ring is damaged. And I'm like,
no.
And so I ensued to chew his ass out. And after I chewed his ass out, I said, "Bro, you're fired." And then not only did I fire him, I went and got the repair bill and I sent it to him. So yeah, everybody knows that I'm a really nice guy, but when it comes to business and money, I'm all business.
Yeah,
I'm all business.
You're a good leader.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to say, yeah.
Yeah, I know. When we were on set and the parking enforcement comes, where's John? So yeah, everybody knows that when it's time to deal business or give bad business or do something like that.
Whoa.
I'm the guy. I think it's because of the size and the voice. They just like, go do it.
Go with John. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, but I'm a really nice guy.
No, you are, but you have. I think people they think because they are so nice and they're very kind. That's your manners and that's amazing. And your mom and your dad did an amazing job.
Thank you.
But doesn't mean like you cannot be tough when you have to. When in situations like that, okay, pobrecitos los lenses. I know, like.
Very true.
Yeah. Let's talk about Four Ways Entertainment.
Yes.
How did you get to know your team, David, Alex, and Oliver?
Oh, they're very, very wonderful. I love my team. I'm very blessed. A funny story about how we met. I think I manifested it. And one thing, if you really do want to be, I guess, your own boss, your own leader, you do need to have a team. It's really, really tough to do this by yourself. I couldn't have been where I'm at without Alex and David. About a year ago before we met, I want to say we met in all formed Four Ways in 2016. But before we met, I was talking with my wife and I said, I really, 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 really want to meet a group of individuals who have the same dream and passion as I do. Because I was pretty much the only one in my circle of friends who was kind of like, hey, I want to be my own boss. And then I met Alex on a really crappy documentary shoot, and him and I were miserable. And he was like, "Hey, brother, do you want to go get some food?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's walk down to Sonic." And we were just talking, and he just said, I want to start my own company. And I'm like, yeah, me too. But it was one of those things where we're like, man, we're Latino. Like, who's going to give us a shot? Like, how, And then he introduced me to David, and David is a U.S. veteran from Afghanistan, and his energy is just so awesome. And he's the type of guy that'll make you believe in yourself. That's what I love about David. And the three of us just said, you know what? If nobody's gonna give us a shot, let's just do it for ourselves. And so that's how we formed Four Ways. Our first project was The Bear. And, I guess I can disclose this now. At the time I was working at Fusion TV, we didn't have camera equipment, our company. So I just took the camera equipment from Fusion TV home.
They borrow you the camera.
I took it. They didn't know. They cause see the thing, and this is messed up, but I'm just gonna say it. So like the corporate office was in Miami. And I was the only guy out here in LA. So I was in charge of all this equipment in the studio, and I had nobody watching me. So I would use it by day, and then by night I'd put it in my car, and then we would go work on our shoots.
Hey, you
gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah,
gotta do what you
they
gotta
were
do.
your sponsors. Let's put it that way.
Yes, exactly. So thank you, Fusion. You helped me out. But yeah, no, and so we learned that because we all have like almost 30, 40 years experience on set. Like our sets, we've had actors that are professional, like Noel G, Dylan. I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on his name right now. We've had big name actors right now come to our set and say, like, I've never been on a professional set, so professional. Like, how do you guys do it? Like, we've been on multi-million-dollar sets and they're not as professional. I mean, unfortunately, last year we had that unfortunate incident with Rust where somebody lost their life because people were cutting corners. Like, one thing that's wonderful is like we understand that, safety comes first. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, no, I mean, I'm really blessed to have those two, and just wait to see what the future holds for us. We really are, I think, going to have a lot of surprises for a lot of people, especially the ones that doubted us.
But you know what? I also think that because you guys worked before behind cameras, yeah, and you guys have all the experience, so you are aware of the safety. Yeah. But sometimes when people, they just show up as a big names and big positions, and they don't have even people skills, nothing. Yeah. They don't care about what the driver is going on or the catering. They don't look at people. They don't acknowledge anybody. So I think that is an amazing skill that you guys have. So congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. And, I think the people that work with us, every time we do a production, it's almost the same people because they know, like, if we call them and we're going to do something, they know they're going to get taken care of and we're going to, put them first. And so everybody always enjoys working with us. And we've actually had to turn away some people because unfortunately, like, we don't have enough positions. And, people have reached out on Instagram, like, oh, I would love to be on your next production with you guys. I'll even like just bring the donuts. And trust me, I want to involve as many people as I can. But as everybody knows, there's only so many spots on the rosters for every project. So, it's nothing personal.
Yeah, no, of course. And I have a question. So, okay, you team with them. You guys are talking. Yes. And you guys were honest. Like, do you have that tough conversation? But you have to have it before to open a business. Like, okay, this is my weakness and these are my strengths. So you guys have that conversation?
The good thing is we hold each other accountable. And not just in business, but also in the writing. People really are surprised how brash and blunt we are when we talk to each other. Because we're just like brothers. And we know, like, look, I love you, you love me. At the end of the day, we just want to be successful and have, happy families. So let's not sugarcoat things. We have to sugarcoat so many things with other people. Like with us, we just got to be honest. Okay. So yeah, we've learned that what our weaknesses are, but we've also turned those into strengths. And what I'm weak at, like, for instance, I suck at paying bills. I really, really suck at paying bills. Everybody who knows me, I suck at paying bills and I suck at directions. Like, I'll get lost in one room. I'll get lost in here. So David is really good at paying bills because he's a Taurus. My wife's a Taurus, so she's really good at paying bills. And he's really great at directions. So, like, those little things, that I suck at, I know he's good at, and he doesn't mind picking it up. Just like, he hates doing certain things, and I love doing certain things, those things. So that's how we complement each other. And I think that's why it's good to have a team.
Yeah, I see it. And I love that you are not afraid to say, like, I'm not good at paying bills.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, like sometimes it's hard for us to say, oh, I'm not good at giving directions either.
I think that's one of the things that was hard for me for a long time. And I think as a social worker, I learned why people get involved with substance abuse and stuff. It is hard to look at that person in the mirror and be honest. It's really easy to look at that person in the mirror and lie and tell them what you want to hear. But to be honest with yourself, it's really tough. But I think that's the only way you're really going to grow, is when you have that moment.
Yeah. And ¿cómo mantienes los pies sobre la tierra? Like, how do you keep your balance? Because you work with in big productions, and now you have your own company. So yes. Or have you had those moments like, oh yeah, I feel better? Like,
no, because here's the thing. I think because I've worked with so many celebrities and I've been treated like crap so many times in my life by somebody who was a celebrity. I really, really, I'm going to tell a story, and I don't care I hope you're okay with this.
Yeah.
So everybody who knows me, I'm a huge horror fan. Love, 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 love The Exorcist. Like, that's the one movie that I'm like, look at that. It was made in the 70s, and to this day, it still scares people. I want that type of horror movie under my belt. I want to create something like that, where for me, that's legacy. I don't have children, and I probably won't have children. So I know that my legacy and my name, Mercado, will live through art. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And when I was working for Dr. Phil, Linda Blair, the Exorcist, the girl that played the Exorcist, was one of the guests. And I was going to be the one in charge of the interview. So I was super excited. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't wait to meet her. She's going to be so wonderful. I had like the little Linda Blair doll and the thing ready for her to sign. She pulls up smoking a big old cigarette and slams the door. And I say, hi, Linda Blair, how are you doing? And she just said, not right now. And then cut me off and went into her dressing room. And then during the shoot, I said, I just want to say, I'm a huge fan. And she goes, yeah. I don't want to hear that shit. And I said, oh, wow. Oh. And then towards the end, I asked her for an autograph, and she said, no. And then took off. And I said, wow, it's really true. Never meet your heroes. There's a saying, never meet your heroes, because you're probably going to be disappointed. And I learned then, like, I don't care if, like, I'm a billionaire, I'm the king of the world or whatever. Like, you're just John Mercado. That's it. And always remember that. You're just John Mercado.
Wow. Thank you for sharing with that story.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like, but it's about, I'm going back again to what your parents did, like the manners and everything, the way we are raised.
Yeah.
And if you keep remember where you're coming from, okay, remember you don't want to, but here's the thing, because people, when sometimes someone mistreats you and you are like, well, I'm going to be like that. You've seen those cases, or even coworkers like, wait, can you teach me how to do this? No, because I learned by myself. And I'm like, and why is it so hard for you to do teamwork? Why we don't support each other?
That's such a true thing, that I think us culturally sometimes we don't support each other. Like I said, anybody out there listening, if you ever see me on the street or on Instagram or whatever, like, just know that I will do my best to be open and be as helpful as possible. But I always want to see my people rise, and no matter if the next writer gets the big gig, I want to support them as much as possible. So yeah, it is an unfortunate aspect that we have to deal with, and hopefully in the future we can kind of get away from that.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
we can normalize to help each other.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been through it so much, and I gotta say, It is disheartening sometimes to meet with someone that you think is going to give you that leg up or help you out because hey, you were just like me, and then they're more like, well, figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. More in this industry, right?
Yes. More in this industry and more within us.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Well, but as long I used to, I'm sorry, but when I was more younger, I used to complain about that and manners and how people are losing their customer service, not customer service skills, people skills. Just saying
Yeah.
hi, the golden words.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome, thank you, please open doors.
Salud.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a good one.
Right. When I trip out, somebody sneezes and I'm the only one that still says salud.
Yeah.
Nobody says it. So it's like, okay. One thing that I'm still big on, even though I don't have children, like like my niece and nephew and everybody, like when an adult walks in the room, I don't know why it's my mom would hit me. She would say, saluda. Yeah. So like when I walk in a room and a little kid doesn't greet me, I kind of feel a certain way, like, hey, you need hit him. I'm just playing. But you know what I mean. It's just you were losing that I don't want, what's the word we want to use? It's like that
Traditions.
Traditions, yeah. And it's sad to see that go. It is, and I hope we can bring some of that back.
If we can continue doing that, maybe other people will see it because if they haven't their parents didn't teach them that. But if at a workplace, John say thank you, John say hi. Maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can bring a smile to someone because those little words, people, you can bring a smile to someone. Like you change the day of someone. I work in customer service many times, like for many years, and sometimes when people just say, "Oh, thank you, bye," or how's your day going, and you're like, "Oh, thank you for acknowledge," and they put a smile and the person on the other side of the counter, like sometimes we have a creepy day, but that's not your business, but we still smile. And just be more thoughtful about that.
I think people forget that there's a human on the other end.
Right.
That's what it is.
Or I think people think sometimes, I'm not saying everyone, they're the only humans.
There you go.
Don't you notice when you go to the grocery stores?
Oh. Well, it's like they say, the shopping cart test.
Oh my God.
I still put it back and I'll still walk, and people look at me weird like, why is that big dude shopping walking halfway across? Because it's just, I feel a certain way if I don't put it back.
Yeah. Or you feel like your mom is watching you.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, ya te dije.
John, what is a day in your life? How is your morning? Do you have a specific routine or something that you always do?
Yeah, so like a typical day for me is, I'll wake up. I'm a night owl. Everybody who knows me, I'm a night owl. And probably right now you see my ojeras because, I am a night owl. Like me in the night, like we're friends.
More you are creative.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's weird. Everybody always says he's like, I'm just not very creative in the morning. At night, it's when it happens. So I'll wake up, have to go to work, and spend the day tending to the farm. But the beauty about it is, I've been cultivating for 13 years, even before it was legal. So, can't get in trouble about that now.
No.
So
nobody's saying.
Yeah, I know. But so I'll spend the day, taking care of the plants. But the beauty about it is I'm not dealing with people. So if I have an idea pop in my head, I'll start formulating the outline in my head. Because in cultivation, let's say on a day I'll have to water 1,000 plants. So that'll take me all 8 hours. So for 8 hours, I'm just standing there with a hose. But in my head, I am working because I'm like, okay, then this character is going to go here. And then this person's going to say this. And then how are we going to get that to this? And one thing I will say, and a little tip for all of you who are writers and you feel like you need some inspiration. I hear a lot of people say, I hate watching the news because it's so negative. It is. But that's where you're going to get some of your best stories is the news. Oh. That's a lot of people ask me, like, where do you get your ideas? Where do you get your ideas? Watch the news. The news is what's telling you what's happening with people. don't worry about the message. Don't worry, because I know a lot of news is skewed a certain way, but just watch it because the stories that really make an impact with people are based on reality, I think. And, like a lot of my stories are current topics. Like right now I'm working on a script and, you'll be the first one to find out. Actually, I'm disclosing it. I'm working on something based on what happened with Vanessa Guillen. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's one of my next scripts that I want to tackle, and so, but those ideas come from the news. So just a little tip, if you feel like you don't have any inspiration, the news is very negative, but there's a lot of inspiration there.
And you know what? Well, congratulations, because
Thank
I
you.
followed the story and not nice what happened
Right.
or what's going on in the world, but wow, that is true. Because something that the motivation behind why you changed careers, and it's true. People pay more attention on movies, like what's going on in the world. Oh, I don't care about hunger or kids on the street or
Right.
everything, all the problems mentioned.
Right.
But they pay attention on the movie. Have you seen this movie where the kid is killed and blah blah blah?
Yes.
But have you seen the news with
Right. And they don't want to listen to it. No.
No.
It's like the way I equate it, it's like when you're a little kid and you don't want to take your medicine, so they put it like in a little like piece of bread or something, or like, and then you'll take it, and that's kind of like, unfortunately, you have to do. Nobody wants to watch a story about somebody being killed, but then when they're being entertained, you can slip that message in, and so that's how you got to do it.
Yeah, little by little. Yeah, and we do. The awareness is coming. So I'm about. First, I want to say thank you for your time.
Of course, it's wonderful being here.
I'm so happy, and I'm gonna do a couple of questions that I always do to my guests.
Of course.
Who inspired you, and that could be anybody.
I think the biggest like inspiration I had, to be honest with you, to be a writer, is my mom and my dad. I can't just say one person. But I want to say it's my mom and my dad. For them to come over here to this country with just $2 in their pocket, not knowing any English. My dad's first job was a dishwasher. Our first house that he bought had half a roof, and that's why he was able to afford it, because it had half a roof. And my mom would have to shoo away the cats because they would crawl into bed with me. And my dad, I remember this story because my mom was crying when he took her and said, "Look, I got us a house." She started crying because she was so ugly. And he goes, "Baby, don't worry. I'm gonna learn how to fix it, and we'll have a house." And my mom's like, "You're a dishwasher. You don't even know how are you gonna build us a house?" But my dad sat there and read books on how to build houses, and he would rent them from the library. And he did. He built us a house. And then he built us another house in Baldwin Park. So when I saw that growing up, I was like, there's nothing you can't do if you believe in yourself. And a lot of people told me, "You want to be a writer in Hollywood? That's a pie in the sky dream. Good luck. You're better luck being something else than that." And when people tell me that, just like they told my parents, "You'll never make it in America," it's like, okay, cool. You'll see. And those are, I think, my biggest inspirations is my mom and my dad.
Wow. Yeah. And book or movie would you recommend that changed something in your life?
Ooh, this one, yeah. I didn't expect you to ask me this question, but the minute you said book, I already know the answer. The biggest book that changed my life was by William Cooper, and it was called Behold a Pale Horse. And it was a book about William Cooper was a gentleman who was in the U.S. Navy, and he disclosed 6 months before 9/11 happened that the U.S. government was going to commit an atrocity with planes, and they were going to blame it on Osama bin Laden. He was killed 2 weeks later in a shootout with the federal government.
Okay.
So when I read that and then 9/11 happened, it just opened my eyes to the fact that we do live, we as the normal human citizen, you do live in a somewhat of a simulation. Like, think about it. You get up, you go to work, you go home, you feed your families, and then you get up and do it all over again. Like, a lot of people live their life like that and don't realize that sometimes things happen to you, or sometimes stuff in the news and in entertainment is there to make you feel a certain way, make you think a certain way. And it helped me learn that life can be what you want it to be if you are the one pulling the strings. If you aren't that person, someone else is going to be pulling those strings for you, and you're probably not going to be very happy. So I think that book and gave me the inspiration and realized, like, wow, there are forces that we don't know, that we're not aware of. And yeah, so
I'm gonna look for that book.
yeah, like I said, I'm a weirdo. So
No, you're not. No, you're not. We're not weirdos. We're uniques. But
there you go.
that book, what you're saying,
Yes.
reminds me to the movie that I forgot the name, but with Jim Carrey. That is kind of reality show.
Yes. Mr. Yes, where he's on 24/7. Mr.
Yeah.
Majestic.
Ándale, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
Is
one?
that the one? Or the
Yeah,
Truman Show.
Yeah,
That's there you
thank
go.
you.
Yes. And yeah, it's just, ever since then I realized, like, and I'm a big history guy. I love reading, I love researching weird stuff, and every night, that's why I think I'm up late, is because I'm in a rabbit hole. I'll start on one thing and then I'll end up like, like, I don't know, like one horror story right now I just submitted to this short story contest for the Massive. It's called the Yuba City 5, and it's based on the fact that in our national forests, like Yosemite and stuff, you and I could be hiking, and you'll say, John, can I get a water? I'll just reach down to get a water, and when I hand it to you, you're gone. Or little kids will go hide and go seek, and then the little kid hides behind a tree, and then he's gone. They'll find the little children 40 miles away 10 minutes later with no shoes, and then the little kid says, yeah, the wolfman brought me and he fed me berries. And it's really creepy stuff like that. So that's like the next horror coming up.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Wait to see it. And just what legacy would you like to leave in this world? Like, cuando ya no estés aquí, ¿cómo te gustaría ser recordado?
Quiero ser recordado como alguien que dio inspiración a los jóvenes y les hizo entender que la única limitación que tú tienes es en tu mente.
Wow, I love it.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you,
Muchas
John.
gracias por todo y todo el tiempo y todo el equipo aquí. Muchas gracias.
No, gracias a ti por tu paciencia.
Oh, you guys have been wonderful.
How do you feel?
I feel wonderful. And anytime you want me back here, you got it.
We love to have you back. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy for my friends here helping us.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful team. Thank you, guys.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone that is listening or watching on YouTube. Thank you. Have a good night, day, or morning.
Can I say just one last thing?
Of course.
I want to say, because I know, like, I didn't get a chance to say, but I do want to say one thing. Aside from my inspiration, the one person that has been like the rock and been the one that, when I have been ready to give up, when I have been said, you know what, I don't have what it takes, has been my wife, Karen. If she didn't give me the strength, and she's the one that sees me the worst and in the best. So I just want to say thank you to her, because had I not had her in my life right now, I don't think I could do what I'm doing.
How did you meet Karen?
We met on a case. She was a therapist and I was the behavioral specialist. So we met when we were social workers.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been married 13 years.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I know that's rare. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Awesome, guys. Oh, thank you, guys. That was really awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, awesome questions. Your energy you made me feel so comfortable. Thank you.
Oh,
yes.
Love to hear that.
Yes, you really made me feel comfortable, because I was nervous.
We're nervous.
I think everybody was nervous. But no, you would have. You really like.
Or detective.
Yeah.
I'm a detective.
Yeah, no, but I felt so comfortable with you. Thank you so much.
It's so nice to hear. That's the podcast is about, like, if my guests feel comfortable, I'm happy about it.
no, this like the ambiance in here is awesome. The lighting is great. So no, thank you guys. And it was so weird. Like I almost forgot you guys were in here. Like we were just so engaged. Yeah, we were so engaged. I seriously forgot you.
There were